Welcome back to our study in the Intertestament period, which has the countdown to Messiah. We are now in a new section, the middle one, that's all about tomes among the tombs. Well, a tome is a large volume book or something that is written with a lot of substance to it. And so that is where we are with this. And this is all about the books, and we are going to go to Alexandria. And not just the city, but we're going to be looking at the library at Alexandria. There's some other things we'll be viewing, but mostly let's view and let's hone in on this incredible place it must have been. And so here's a quick map of ancient Egypt. You can see where Alexandria is. It is to the west of the Nile River and the Delta, and that is where most of Egypt was built. You can see as you go down on the west side, but there are a lot of things built on the right-hand side too, at immaculate places. But we're at Alexandria today. And so if we could take a look at this and turn the clock back a little bit, you can see the lighthouse, which was one of the seven wonders of the world. We will discuss that, and we'll be looking at that towards the end. And here is ancient Alexandria, which is around the time of Hypatia. So we're not going all the way back to Alexander, but this gives you a good idea of where the library and the museum was. Notice where the Pharos lighthouse was. And Alexandria is also one of those cities that the main city is on land, but then they also have an island, which they have connected, made it a stronghold. The city was founded by Alexander the Great in 330 BC. At his death in 323 BC, Ptolemy I became king. That was one of his four generals that divided up his entire empire. So Ptolemy got the northern Africa, all of Egypt, and a chunk going up the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Oftentimes, it would include Israel, and sometimes the Seleucids would have it, depending on fighting and conquering. Regardless, Israel was always the nation that was caught right in the middle. Alexandria became the capital of the Ptolemy rulers, and so that whole family was born here. We've already looked at them. It became one of the world's cultural and intellectual centers. Let us look at the muses right now. This is where we get our word music from. The scholar and orator Demetrius of Phalerum, an exiled governor of Athens, convinced Ptolemy I Soter, he took the last name, to establish the library in 595 BC. Demetrius's vision: he wanted a copy of every volume in the world, literally, and he had the backing of the ruler, of the king, and away he went. And he sent the word out, he sent people out to gather copies of anything in print, any writing. The scrolls is what they would have been. And this also included Bible scrolls, things from the Hebrew people, from the Israelites. Under the patronage of Ptolemy I, Demetrius organized the construction of the Temple of the Museums, or the Muses, or the Museum. This is where we get our word museum from. It comes from the Muses. The Temple of the Muses was just the first of many planned buildings. Once again, here is the map of it. You see the library and the museum. There it is pointing inland to it. It's basically waterfront. Here is an artist's sketch of what it would have looked like. Keep in mind, we are in Egypt, and architectural buildings and the paintings and the artwork are going to be very slanted Egyptian. Look at the walkway up, and up the stairs at the front on the right and on the left is seated. It would appear to be an Egyptian pharaoh or a leader, but it's definitely Egyptian, and the crafting into the walls and everything would be that. The museum was a cult center with shrines for each of the 9 muses, but also functioned as a place of study with lecture areas, laboratories, observatories, botanical gardens, a zoo, living quarters, dining halls, as well as the library itself. It was massive. Now, here are a picture of our muses. We already looked at them, but I'll do one of a comic sense, if I may, because here are the 9 of them and their names. You can see to the far upper left, there's Clio, the muse of history. Urania, the muse of astronomy. Uranus, the planet. There you see choral dancing, epic poetry, sacred poetry, tragedy, comedies. All of these areas of the arts. Now, let's look at the Library of Alexandria. Do you remember the description of it and what this massive complex was going to be? There are places for people just to come and study, people to come and write. There were quarters they could spend the night. There's a cafeteria for food. There's meeting places where verbal discussion could be allowed for all to listen to, and that there were the quiet places. Look at the stacks to the ceiling, the organizational desks, the copying desks. Here is some of it in construction, or an artist's concept thereof. Looks like a shopping mall in some ways, doesn't it? Minus the escalators, but the marble steps in their place. Young and old could come. Anyone from around the world. Ptolemy II, he reigned from 282 to 246. He added the royal library. So this had everything to do with royalty, around kings, and what they would want in there. This is what it would have looked like. From archaeological digs, even though we know all of it was destroyed and burned, they still know roughly what it would have looked like by ruins. Once the largest libraries in the ancient world, it contained works by the greatest thinkers and writers of antiquity, including Homer, Plato, Socrates, and many more. Apparently, more than 100 scholars were housed within the museum whose job it was to carry out scientific research, to lecture, publish, translate, copy, and collect not only original manuscripts of Greek authors, including the private collection of Aristotle himself. It included translations of works from Egypt, Assyria, Persia, as well as the Buddhist texts and the Hebrew scriptures. Due to the volume of books, a second library was constructed. It is estimated that the first library exceeded 500,000 volumes. The Library of Alexandria in northern Egypt is popularly believed to have been destroyed in a huge fire around 2,000 years ago, with everything lost. So who done it? They don't really know, but there are three culprits. There are two main suspects, and so let's share them with you and we'll let you figure it out. The first suspect would be Julius Caesar in 48 BC. And the library would have been up by over 200 years by then. So in conquest of the city, he was hemmed in at the royal library by the Egyptian fleet. So he set fire to the ships and it spilled over to the library. Now, I read several sources that said this generally was, yes, he set fire to the ships, but the library, remember, it was in the harbor and it was pretty much on the waterfront. So as the ships burned, it blew over into the library, but he really didn't intend for it to burn down. So here they are in the harbor, and do you see Pharos' lighthouse up there? And then to the right, you see the pier, and then the little indentation that could come in, or they could come in from the other side. But to put them right up near there and to dock would put them right in front of this massive complex. Second suspect is Emperor Theodosius I in 391 AD. So we're like over 300 years, 500 years from the building of it. As part of his attempt to wipe out paganism, Emperor Theodosius I officially sanctioned the destruction of the Serapeum, or Temple of Serapis, at Alexandria. Well, if you remember the logo of this temple, Serapis, it was a snake, and that is the emblem of the medical world. And so he was going after, there was that kind of research going on, and it was in that realm. And so his Christian duty was to go and destroy this evil, because it was satanic. So did he pull this off? There's a picture of him, or a piece of him. There he is also. This comes from Ptolemy I. But this isn't the guy that did it. But this was the original man, Serapis. Number 3, Caliph Omar, 640 AD. The Arabs under General Amru ibn Alas captured Alexandria after a long siege. You see, we're not into the Crusades and all that coming out of England, but there was a lot of growth now. Islam is going to have its birth, and it's going to pretty well run wild from 700 AD on. He sent word back to the caliph, who told him since Islam had a copy of everything already of value, then Alexandria would not have anything of value. Burn it. And so the caliph burns the library. Well, what about Alexandria today? Let's go there and let's look at real, okay? And this is Alexandria Archaeology, the museum. It's a real place. You can go there. We're inside it right now. And this is where you will find a lot of the pieces and the archaeological finds that they've had. However, there are larger areas that they cannot house inside a museum. And I'll share that with you in a short period. But let's just walk through this. Just look at some of the displays. Here is gold necklace from the era. You remember Serapis? Now, everything's pretty much just in that museum. And no, there have been none of the scrolls, none of the books recovered. They've parchment burned first. And what was in those two libraries was parchment, tons of it. But let's go and check a couple other things out after this. Do you see the Egyptian in them? The beards and their helmet. And this is very Egyptian. In fact, this is the anointing of one of the pharaohs. Now, here's some underwater archaeology, and I think this is going to just be utterly amazing to you. And this is just a small tad of what I could have put up and shared with you today, but it is incredible. All right, here's a little here's the underwater camera, just one of them running around here. And if you go to the pier today and jump off, or you slowly get in, because a lot of ancient Alexandria, of the Library of Alexandria, slid into the water, fell into the water, and right there at the pier in the port. So we're going to be looking at things this is part of the library. So look at the statue that's just underwater and has been. Here are the divers, and they are silhouetting that. They can go down there at night. They do their looking also. Now look at the immensity of this piece of artwork. Definitely this was outside, very well could have supported a column. Don't know where it goes. The head broke off when it hit. As they find these things, they hoist them. They put them on dry ground to let them dry out, to let the national archaeologists come and look at them, check them out, try to identify them, and then they will determine which direction they go. Now look, see, these guys are in chest-high water, and they're pulling this out. Look at the mother with the child, surrounded by broken columns. Look at the immensity of this piece that is underwater. The lions. Look at the walkway. I told you that there are bigger pieces that could not be in the museum. They are establishing an underwater museum. They are putting together the city underwater as much as they can. This is Cleopatra's Alexandria. This is what it would have looked like. talking about Cleopatra back underwater again. Look at the urn. Look in the background on the right. Then I'm going to end with this one that I think is just unbelievable. Can you imagine the immensity of that, the weight of that? It's in one piece. Look how far down it goes. This would have been the top of a building probably, or an upper area facing outward. So what about archaeology just around town? Well, what's really, really important and that you can go see, here's Pompey's Pillar. This is a artist concept of the lighthouse at Pharos. Pharos is the island, is what the name of it. And if you look, the front end of it looks like Pharaoh, doesn't it? So it's the Pharaoh's lighthouse, and the island was the island of the pharaohs. This was one of the ancient wonders of the world. And that is not the exact one, but that which they have found. They've recreated a pedestal. They've put what they could and added what they needed to, especially up top. And so the very last thing that's missing, that they really want, there's a quest for the tomb of Alexander the Great. Most archaeologists feel and scholars feel he's in Alexandria somewhere, that they brought him home from Babylon. That's where he died. And so what do we know what's going on? Ongoing excavations led by archaeologist Calliope Papakasta aim to locate the tomb of Alexander the Great, believed to be in Alexandria. She's spending her life doing this. Recent findings, including fragments of ancient statues, suggest that the search may be nearing success, shedding light on the city's royal quarter and its historical significance. Remember, they had a royal museum, they had a royal area of the town. Some of the things they've found is a mosaic of Alexander the Great, and it is a small piece of something very great. It is near this area that they have dug into this hill and dug back enough that now they found a wall and an entryway. And look at statues tend to be guarding the entryway. This is what they hope to find. It is generally what their great leaders were buried in. But this is not Alexander the Great's coffin. Well, I want to thank you for tuning in on this. It was not long, but I believe it to be very informative. And if I do anything, I hope I whet your appetite to go dig for more and to see what all that you can find. These are a lot of the people that have helped me with this entire study, and the list could go on with little sub things I've picked up here and there. If I can help you in any way or you have suggestions, there's my email address. I'll be glad to respond right back to you. If you want hard copies of these lessons, I can send you a Word document, and there's no charge. This is for the betterment of the kingdom of heaven and the testimony of our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you again. God bless you. And there's more to come with the books and the tomes. And stay with us. You're going to get surprised.